Hi everyone, and welcome to the second Gift of the Gap event. My name is Claudia and I will be the host for today's session. I have to say today I'm particularly excited about our speaker. I think she does a great job in everything she puts herself to, and I'm sure she will inspire a lot of us. So let me introduce our speaker, Marinara Marcato. She is a PhD student at Tyndall National Institute, the founder of SMART Edu Club, and an entrepreneur in IGNITE Start-up Incubator Programme at UCC. I want to ask you if you have, and tell you if you have any questions during your talk, please just leave it for the Q&A afterwards. And I will now hand over to you, Marinara.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for being here, and to the IEEE student branch here in Cork for inviting me to give this talk. I'm very delighted to be here today, and I look forward to getting a conversation started with you guys as well. If you want to turn on your cameras as well, it would be lovely to see your faces. But if not, that's okay as well. Don't worry. I really appreciate you guys being here today. Yeah, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. So hopefully my laptop doesn't crash. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Can you guys see my screen now? Yes?
Yeah, it's all good.
Perfect. And I can see you in my other screen. So I might be looking at different places to see what's going on, but all looking good. So yeah, the intention of today's talk, I'm going to be talking about a little bit about my own PhD experience here at UCC, a little bit about my background, how I got here in the first place, and in the second part of the talk, I'm going to be introducing a few reflections and a few things for us to analyze together. So I'd love to get a bit of your input as well in that part, especially. So it's something constructive for everyone to kind of reflect upon and maybe take some a few things that we can do in the future to enhance our own experiences as PhDs and master's students. So I suppose most of you here are probably in that area. I have a slide there for you to kind of put your background here so we get to know each other. So yeah, as I said in the first part, you can see my slides now. Yeah, just making sure that it is working. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, we can see.
So yeah, so as I said in the first part, it's a little bit about my personal background. I'm going to be talking about my PhD research, SMART Edu Club. In the second part, then we're going to be reflecting, and then I have a special invitation for a few of you guys there as well, that I think will be nice as for us to take action on a few things after this talk. So without further ado, let's get started. I wanted to know you as well. So if you want to use the chat option there to tell me your university or maybe your research institute, your degree and your area, so we can get to know each other as well. I suppose networking opportunities are very limited at this point in time, so it would be nice to get to know each other. And also, if you can comment on what got interested in this talk, then I can maybe cover that a little bit more when I'm speaking. So yeah, I'll just open the chat here so to make sure that I can see your responses. Yeah, very delighted to have you here. Let's move on to get started. So about my personal experience, who am I? Where did I come from? So as you can tell, I'm not Irish, so I have a little bit of story to get here. So it all started in 2011 when I started my undergrad in electrical engineering at UEL, which is my university in Brazil. And during that time, I did some research on embedded systems. And in particular, we had this project here where I was working on a battery on a charger for a battery that would go inside a rocket. And this is why I am here in the base in Brazil where the rocket would be launched. And this is the system that I designed and that I was working on. So this was my very first technical research experience, if you will, back in 2011. You can see that the video quality wasn't that great back then, but you can see how the system used to work. And it was a really good experience. It got me interested in research, academia, and learning more about it. So that was between 2013 and 2015 that I did research. But before that, I have some history with IEEE student branches in IEEE. So that's why it's so exciting for me to be here today, because in 2011, when I started my undergrad, I founded an IEEE student branch in my own university in Brazil. And that was such an amazing experience. It really opened the doors for me along the way. You're going to see that a lot of my experiences followed because of that, or because of the skills that I developed during that time. So it was really set in stone for me. So this is one of the events we used to run there in the university. And yeah, I think I have a few people who are in the photo here as well. So it's nice to see them here so many years afterwards. And all that I got a lot from it in terms of like friendship, networking, and proposing and developing projects. We had some technical projects being developed. So it wasn't just about soft skills, but about hard skills as well. And this is the biggest the group was. So we had like 20 or 30 members back then, and a lot of like technical projects and talks, events going on. So it was really a great experience. Teamwork, and leadership, they're amazing skills to have. I see that you guys are commenting there. Lovely, thank you. Yeah, so that led me to different experiences outside my own town as well, outside my city. I went traveling to different places. This is the second biggest hydroelectric dam in the world. It's near where I live in Brazil, and it's massive and so big. We had this IEEE student branch meeting that is a national meeting. So everyone, Brazil is a big country, so it's something quite big, and these events would be like around 200, 300 people. So that was lovely. So I went to Brasilia as well, which is the capital city of Brazil. It's not São Paulo, it's not Rio, it's Brasilia. And this one was up in the north. So really good experience. This was back when I was, after my experience as chair of our own student branch, I was invited to become the section chair for the Students' Activity Committee. So it's basically a portion of Brazil, the south of Brazil. There's like 4 different states, and then there was 11 student branches under my responsibility. So it was really nice to like set up my own student branch and then run it. Then afterwards going into a more administrative position and getting to know more people, travel more, and so on. Love traveling, so yeah, that's a big win. And then here, after my position in the section, which was a portion of Brazil, south of Brazil, then there was an election for the regional student representative for the IEEE. So you can see that my history with IEEE is quite big now. So this is the last position that I had with them as the representative for the whole Latin America then. So I was representing all the students, IEEE students from Latin America. And that was such an enriching experience. You got to meet many people, work in a multicultural environment. So Latin America pretty much is like everybody speaks Spanish, but Brazil. So I had to develop my Spanish back then and work with people from different countries. It was really, really lovely. And like none of this would have happened without me first starting the IEEE student branch. And I'd never have thought this would be even possible, you know? So yeah, I'm very thankful for this experience. Many friends that I still keep very dear to my heart until nowadays. So yeah, it was a great experience there. And then a little bit more about like like the other aspects of college. I did an internship in a factory in Londrina. It's quite big, maybe 600 people working there or something. So this was more like coding and working in coding for the machines we had on the factory floor, basically. So that was in 2015, and then from the beginning to June, and then I came to Cork in 2015 in July to do my internship or to do my exchange in UCC. So there's this exchange, there's like scholarship in Brazil program that I applied, and that's how I got here in the first place. And like I was just so lucky. Like sometimes we look at a position and we're like, oh my gosh, like this is a bit out of reach for me. And definitely this one was a bit of stretch for me because like my English back then wasn't great. Like I wasn't confident at all. And like when I did the test, I just got enough points to apply for it. So I guess one of the lessons that I get from here is like we should always be confident in our abilities and give it our best try. And like I wasn't sure I was going to get it. Like I was so shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, like exactly 10 points more than I needed. 10 points less I wouldn't have come. And it definitely was a great experience being here. And after the year in UCC, I went to Limerick to do an internship at Analog Devices. And this again was an amazing experience getting to work in an industry in Ireland. Like I would never have thought of this. I think when I was here as part of the exchange program, there was about 80 Brazilians back then with us here, and like a portion of them went home for in the summer. They didn't stay longer, but I wanted to stay longer, and I always had in mind that I wanted to do an internship. So like when the time came, I started like sending a lot of emails. I was actually very late. I didn't know that like people set up their internships, so their summer internship so much ahead of time. And yeah, it was really, really great to have it. And I think out of like the 80 Brazilians who were here, maybe 3 I know got an internship in industry, and then maybe the other like 30 or so would have just stayed and done their internships in UCC for the summer for the 3 months or even 2 months, I think it was. So it was really like nice to be able to stay here a little longer. So I only went home to Brazil in December after doing 7 months of internship, and it was really, really good experience for me. Yeah, so I finally graduated after 6 years. So in Brazil, it takes you 5 years to do your engineering degree. So for me, it took 6 because I came to Ireland, so that was an extra year. But yeah, I got there eventually, and I got lots of great experience. So after graduating, I came back to Cork to do my PhD in Tyndall. So you can see the building here for people who may not be familiar with the area. So this is Tyndall. It's just by the river. It's a lovely building. And here is UCC again. Yeah, so I'll talk to you a little bit about my research project. I'm working with dogs, which is amazing. So I'm working with a charity here in Cork that train dogs to become guide dogs for vision impaired blind people. So basically, the main idea of my project is to try to predict which dogs will succeed or will fail their training program. So about 50% of the dogs would fail their program, and a lot of resources are invested in training these dogs. So it costs a lot of money. Therefore, making the process as efficient as it can be is very beneficial, both for the organization and for the clients as well. So here, how am I trying to do this? I'm using machine learning, which is a type of artificial intelligence technique, and I collect data on the dogs. I have a behavior test that I do with them, and during this behavior test, I record their pulse or their heart rate, respiratory rate, and their positions, the behavior that they show, and basically I use these data to predict if the dog is going to succeed or fail their training. So it's just a less subjective way of making predictions, because obviously if you ask each trainer, they're going to have their own opinions, but it's very subjective. So we just want to make it as objective as possible. And then maybe in the future, it could be just a device you have on the dog that will give you an estimation of the probability that dog will succeed in training. And the earlier you can predict that, the better it is, because then if the dog's not suitable, they will be rehomed, they will be career changed, that's the term, so they become a pet dog in a family. And if they are suitable, they stay on for their training and get on to finish. So that's the main idea of the project. And these are the sensors that I use on them. So I have some inertial sensors to measure their movements. And these are the sensors. So this is similar to what people wear in the gym, working out to measure their heart rate. So I have that on the dogs. So you can see that I just put them around their waist, and I have some band there to secure them in place. Yeah, so this is a little bit of an overview there. So I have a behavior test, and during that behavior test, I collect different data. And I also have questionnaires sent to the puppy raisers and the dog trainers, because these are probably the easiest way to get data. However, it can be challenging because then you are relying on other people to give you the information you need, and it's a little bit more subjective, while these data here are more objective. So this is an overview of my project, and I got to do lots of fun stuff as well. So this is Culture at Night back in the day, when we used to have people coming into the building in Tyndall to show off our research. So we got a dog there as well to pet, because dogs are amazing. And here is a documentary that I participated that was streamed on Irish TV. TG4 is the name of the channel. And for those of you wondering, no, I don't speak Irish. The channel is in Irish, but the documentary was, obviously, I was only speaking English, barely, like. And it's all, they have the subtitles and all. And this was a very interesting opportunity that I wouldn't have thought. So maybe some of the guys might know this person here. Anybody knows him? No. No.
You know.
Soccer fans? No. Carol, do you know it?
Roy Keane.
Yes, that's Roy Keane. He's basically a legend of the Manchester team, and he's actually from Cork. He lives here, I think, still nowadays, doesn't he?
I think, I'm not sure if he's relocated. He's from Mayfield direction.
Oh, okay.
I think he lives in the north of England, I think, but he's probably
a
bit, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, so he's a footballer that is a big supporter of the Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind, and then I got to do a shooting with him for a fundraising campaign, which was like really interesting. So it's nice the way like research is so like through doing research you get to do like some very different stuff that you don't really expect, and that's such a nice part of it, like doing your public engagement and public engagement of the science, explaining a little bit about your research. Yeah, so these are my supporters for my PhD research. It's funded by European funds, so very thankful for having that support there. It's very important. During my PhD as well, I got interested in teaching. So this is how it all kind of started with what led to the foundation of my own startup company. I started teaching in schools and in after school programs here in Cork. So basically, it's a concept called STEM teaching, which is meant to introduce kids to STEM subjects. So you have science, technology, engineering, and maths, and everything is done in a hands-on manner. So kids get to try the concepts out and see that working for themselves. So in my classes, for example, here I have one of the classes we built a rocket, and then we got to launch the rocket. You guys went to see this, right? The kids are just cheering for the rocket. It's so fun to work with kids and be able to inspire them to learn more about science and show them the fun side of it as well, and that there is an opportunity there for them, that like it's rocket, like this is rocket science made easy. So it's a nice way of introducing them to these concepts from such a young age. um, yeah, so after teaching for maybe 2 years, then I launched my own startup company, with the mission of educating and inspire our future problem solvers. So we basically create fun educational programs that have a mix of science, education, and engagement to get kids excited and informed about science as well. So far we've grown it to like 3,700 families, and in different countries as well, because everything that I'm doing is online. So this is kind of the beauty of doing things online. You get to connect with people from different countries. And I launched this. I launched the company right when the pandemic started and everybody was in lockdown, and then parents were getting crazy with the kids in the house. So it was very timely to have these. It was a 5-activity program that I created, so it was very timely for them to have those resources and work with the kids. And I got some incredible feedback and support from UCC and media coverage. It was really, really good. Um, and yeah, so at the end of the summer, then I was accepted in the business incubator here in UCC. Maybe some of you guys might be interested in learning more about this experience. You can definitely drop me any questions if you have any. So it was accepted. They take people in cohorts. Back then, it used to be 10 different startups. So this is my cohort in IGNITE. Really good experience. Actually, before that, I participated in a different incubator as well, which was really good, based in the US, Techstars, if you guys might know. Yeah, so I got like really good support from UCC as well in terms of media coverage for my programs. So I did the challenge, as I mentioned. There was also some online summer camps. And the most recent that I ran last year was the NASA field trips. These were such an amazing way of getting started. I see that Amal is there, and it all started kind of like from like his idea. His Mighty, look at this. What do you think? And like, yeah, let's send them an email. Like, if they can give us a tour of their facilities, that would be amazing. And it's basically the NASA Goddard Center in the US. They give tours to people or schools, and then basically we got to do a tour ourselves as well. And it was such an amazing experience. We had, I think the biggest one, we had 1,500 people registered, and then we live streamed it to Facebook. There was about 1,000 people, I think, the biggest one. 500 or 1,000, something like this. it was so incredible to do it. And then one day I just wake up in the morning, and then people are like, "Oh, there's this person talking about you in the radio," and I'm like, "Oh, who's this person?" I didn't even know, and it was right. And then I'm like, "My gosh!" Like I just couldn't believe it. It's just like one thing leads to another, and then like all these things are happening. But like it was like there was a lot of difficult times as well. Of course, we always try to showcase the successes and all that. But absolutely an amazing experience. Very grateful for being able to do it. And I hope this inspires you as well, because I suppose many of you might have that like side project that you have in mind, that thing you guys want to work on. Like, yeah, definitely do. And like, you never know what's around the corner, what's there for you. And it is hard, you know, like you're working on it, and sometimes you're working for so long, you don't see any results. But when the results come, it's usually big, and you're not expecting it. And one important thing here as well, one important lesson I learned is to really take the time to enjoy and appreciate your work and your successes. Because sometimes we try to overlook it, or I don't know, is it just me? But sometimes I like, oh no, yeah, it's fine. Like everybody's like, but no, I put in the time, and I dedicated myself to doing this. So I know in your life you also have your own successes and all that, and sometimes we look up at others as like, oh, they're amazing, and like I'm here just whatever. So like really do take the time to appreciate your own things, because like I certainly don't do that enough, and that's not very beneficial for me, because then I'm like just thinking, oh no, I won't be able to do this, and I'm not looking at like my previous successes. So it was nice to kind of stop for a bit and then look what has been done. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like there's a bit there. And I'm sure like for you guys as well, if you sit down and think about things, like it's all about like perspective as well. So I think if there's any advice there for you, that would be it. Like just look at your successes. You've gone through a lot to get where you are today, and really appreciate what you guys have done to get here. Yeah, so this is a little bit of it. Oh yeah, I had some slides here about the NASA field trip. So like this is about the experiences like when you're there. So like there's just like these screens in front of you, and like just the NASA specialists here were talking about like all these amazing things about space travel and rockets and building rockets, and the kids like kind of like commenting a lot on Facebook, like, oh, this is amazing, whatever. And then afterwards, receiving the images of what it was like from their perspective is just like such an amazing, like an amazing feeling. So very grateful for that, for everything that happened. And then here I put a slide with all the people that I worked with. Actually, there's one or two people missing that I remember. And at the time, like when I was looking at this slide, I'm like, oh geez, I've worked with a lot of people. And like at the time, you're like, you don't realize things as they're happening. So it's nice to kind of like take a step back and look at things for what they are, I suppose. But I'm very, very grateful for everyone. So you guys might recognize a few faces here. And I'm so grateful for every single person who I've worked with. I've learned so much, and I hope I have also contributed to their lives in a way. I just hope I'm not getting too long on this. So basically, this is an overview of everything we covered so far. I'm just talking about myself. Very selfish. Oh my gosh. We're gonna move on to the next bit now. So we talked about IEEE, which has a very special place in my heart, and my experience in the doing electrical engineering, about my internship, and then we talked about my Science Without Borders exchange to Ireland internship at Analog Devices, my PhD at Tyndall with the dogs, and my startup company, and the participation in the IGNITE program. So now let's talk. In this part, I'd really love for you guys to participate a bit as well. I want this to be more like, it's like random thoughts that I put there, some like analysis of things. So I hope you enjoy this and you take some good lessons from it. So I'm just like kind of giving an overview of a post-grad experience. And one quote that I like a lot, I love quotes, and this is a great one. So it's not about the goal, it's about growing to become the person that can accomplish the goal. So sometimes, like while doing a degree, we're just thinking about like the day we graduate and finally are done with everything. But it's not only about that, it's about growing to become that person, and the process that is involved. Because if you're only looking at the goal and you're not enjoying the process, like, is it really worth it, you know? So I think we should really be like, the way I kind of try to live my life is basically like trying to enjoy the process of the doing the things, because if you enjoy that, you're going to give it your best and you're also going to have a great experience, right? So this is one of the things that I wanted to share. So if we're looking at like post-grad experience, how can we get the best experience we have? One thing that I want to take into account before moving on into that reflection with you is that PhD students and masters, I think that's most of you guys here today from what I see there. It's such a unique experience. So just from reading your messages there, I can see that it's a different area, it's a different project, it's a different topic. There's going to be different groups, laboratories, infrastructure involved, supervisors, advisors, stakeholders. So it's so different. So there's not a one size fits all kind of like piece of advice that you give that like, oh, this really helps me. But I think that some of the things are very similar for all of us. So this is a bit now that I want your input. If we were to reflect on what factors contribute for a great experience, what would you guys say? So if you think about the years you've spent now doing your postgrad, what are the highlights that come to your mind? Let's see, anyone wants to say anything? You can unmute yourselves as well if you prefer, that's okay. Or maybe starting with the IEEE student.
I speak for myself. For me,
Yeah.
a great experience as a postgrad would be to first learn both in my technical area, but also in all other aspects of life. And so that's the first thing that I want to define it a great experience. Learn something that I didn't know before.
Mm-hmm.
A poor experience would probably be to just be closed in my work and even if getting good results in the work, but losing what is all around the post-grad experience.
Yeah, so you really enjoy like the research side of things, learning more things, reading the papers, getting to know different techniques for whatever you're doing. That's cool. Very good. Thank you for sharing, Claudia.
A message in the chat from Emmeline saying networking definitely makes the experience richer.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. For me also, like networking definitely makes the experience very rich. And I suppose for myself, looking back at my own experience, I guess a bigger part of it is networking, communicating my research, talking to researchers about it, getting input from other people, and like discovering new things for myself. It's really a nice place to be, and I really enjoy academia in that sense. And is there anything that you guys feel like, oh, this is not great, or like that you struggle with, or you think is a challenge sometimes?
think Carolina just answered saying focus and discipline contribute, but sometimes they are very hard.
Yeah, that's true. I also feel that I think the nature of the work is like it's hard work because like no one has done it before, and sometimes we don't give it, or I don't know. I feel like sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we're doing. So there's this image. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I should probably have included it here. There is a circle, and then there's like this tiny dot at one of the corners, and then it's basically pushing the corner of the circle, and it's basically what we're doing. So there's this, the circle is everything that is known by science, and what we're doing, we're just pushing a tiny corner there to get to know a little bit more. So we're just like really stretching the boundaries of knowledge, and sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we're doing or don't realize how hard it is. And definitely I think this is something with like, I don't know, confidence sometimes. Like you're doing something that is so hard, and then you might be struggling, and then it seems like in your mind you're like, this is simple. Like, why am I struggling with this? It should be so simple. And it's definitely something that I had thought before, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, and then talking to other people, yeah, I was struggling with this as well. So like, you can try this, you can try that. Sometimes there is no right and wrong. Yeah, so thank you very much for your entries there. I appreciate it. I have some just a little bit here. I'll just kind of give a few thoughts there so we can move on to the Q&A. But basically, like we want to really maximize our positives and minimize our negatives. So I have here some analysis of like what are the strengths and opportunities and weaknesses and threats that we have in our things. Maybe a bit detailed, but I hope that you get some out of it. So the strengths here that I would classify would be their internal. So you get a lot of like academic skills, as Marco mentioned there, like knowing the theory, hard skills, the practical experience you get. I think a lot of it as well is management and managing yourselves and managing your work, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for the work you're doing, and you are basically just reporting to your supervisor what you're doing and defending why you think it is important to do that. And this is definitely something I hadn't realized before doing my PhD. I thought like my supervisor would just tell me what to do, and then I just go on and do it. But like, it definitely isn't. Like, it's not the case. You're doing a PhD, it is your work, and it is you who decides what you want to do and so on. So definitely like the planning, management, communication, presentation skills, they're very important, something that we get to work on, develop a lot. In terms of opportunities, I think there's a lot there for us to do. Like peer-reviewed publications, I think they're great to get like experts looking at your work, giving you feedback on what you've done. Publishing journals, it's an amazing experience. You have like conferences, symposiums, events. You can also participate in summer schools. So guys, if you especially if you are like in your first or second year, definitely have a look at different summer schools you can participate. You get to network and meet people from in your own area, which is great. So I definitely recommend doing that, doing any courses as well for your own technical skills. Another thing that I would love to mention here is education in public engagement. So if you have, if you like talking about your research, inspiring people about it, inspiring people to love science, definitely something to consider. And then in terms of extracurricular activities, I think clubs and societies, charities, that could be a very good way for you to kind of have something going on outside your PhD, because if your own life revolves around that, it can get tough when things are difficult, you know? So having that, like that thing that you do outside that you're not thinking about your thesis constantly, is very, very beneficial for you. And that's definitely like looking at my own experience with my undergrad, like I loved like going to classes and learning about all the technical things. I did very well in that. But looking back, definitely what I remember the most is the experience with the IEEE student branch and everything that I did extracurricular. That really is something that was so special for me. So like for my PhD, I kind of take it that way as well. PhD work is really, really important. However, doing things outside, that's going to be something that I will remember and be proud of as well in the future. So I definitely suggest that you guys think about it. If you have like this side project you want to work on, or if you want to be part of a club in a society, I couldn't recommend it enough. We have an IEEE student branch there as well that you guys can participate in. There's different societies that you can be part of as well. So yeah, in terms of threats, I think we had a big one now with COVID, right? Like things got tough. Things got tough. I think personal circumstances can definitely impact there. There's maybe a lack of financial support could be impact there. So things to keep in mind. In terms of weaknesses, I think this is a bit that I wanted to. I think there is this ideal like people just sometimes try to portray like. It's not that. I think it's more like we love talking about our own successes, and then sometimes it can be hard to talk about our struggles. So I think this is something that needs to be talked more enough. It isn't talked about enough, and I wanted to highlight here. One of the things is planning fallacy. Like I don't know if you guys know what this means, or I don't know. I think it's basically thinking that things are gonna take less time than they actually do. I'm a big self-improvement nerd, and I'm reading all these books about different topics. And one of them that I was reading recently is about like self-discipline. They were talking about this, and basically like they talk about the different things that influence that the factors that influence for this to happen. And that was basically what the PhD is like. So basically, so you have like some work to do that you don't know how difficult it is going to be, because like you don't have much experience done that before, and maybe nobody has ever done that before, depending on your area of research. And then you try to plan how to do that, and then you need to present that to a panel of people. So basically, in your mind, sometimes you know how long it is going to take, and that doesn't sound good. So then you think, no, I need to make this sound more, it sounds better because I'm presenting to people. So like the social aspect is very important there. And then you kind of shorten things, and then the time passes by and things don't get done. I don't know, does this happen in your research? Please let me know so I don't feel alone. Because it definitely happens in my case. And then like reading the book, I'm like, this guy is pretty much like describing what the process is like, you know, like everything that contributes to it. So I felt understood, and I hope you guys feel understood as well. Perfectionism is something that is big. We all want to do the best work we can. We all want to optimize every single hyperparameter in our whatever we're doing. So definitely something to keep in mind. And I think that this leads a lot to procrastination, because you want to write this amazing paper and you put so much pressure on yourself to write this amazing like paper that you feel so overwhelmed, and you're like, and then when you actually start doing it, you're like, oh, this doesn't look any perfect. Obviously, you just started. Like it takes time, you know. So I think there's a lot there, really a big relationship between like procrastinating and perfectionism. And I think this can also lead to like a lack of self-confidence. Like, I don't know, am I just talking about myself here? Hopefully somebody out there feels understood as well. Because that's definitely something that I felt with my research, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and then sometimes you're talking to people that don't understand what you're doing, and then it can get difficult. So this can lead to something called imposter syndrome. Have you guys ever heard about it? Yeah, when it's basically like I was reading about this the other day, and then basically this person described pretty much something similar, like a scenario where that's very popular among us, where you're presented with challenges that are very big, And then obviously, because they're very big, it is going to be difficult and you're going to struggle. So this leads to self-confidence, and that a lack of self-confidence, and that happening enough, you might develop this, what is called imposter syndrome, which is basically feeling like you shouldn't, like you are not worthy of the success you've had. Sometimes you guys can read a little bit more about it, but basically it's something like, if you're there, if you've ever felt it, you're not alone. Like, it happens to the best of us. So we're here to support you. It's fine. We're gonna get through this. And then there's like a bit of a pressure in terms of research output, maybe lack of recognition. You guys might felt like this sometimes, lack of support or comparison. Sometimes you're looking at this person and like they have like the best papers, whatever, and then you're there like no papers yet. You know, so this happens to all of us. I just want you guys to feel understood in this part, you know, like we've all been there. And I suppose it's like, is there how to to address some of these things? I think it all comes down to a bit of the tips that I'm going to give you guys here. Of course, I don't have it all figured out. I think we are all a work in progress. But yeah, I hope some of these tips help you. And we are going to wrap up very soon. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time. Yeah, so as I was saying, it's not about the goal. It's about growing to become the person that can accomplish that goal. So like, we had a lot of challenges now during the pandemic. So access to facilities, boundaries, like work life. Most of you, are you guys working from home? Can you let me know in the chat there? Like, from the people that I know, there's so many working from home. If you're, let me know in the chat if you're working from home, or if you get to go to a laboratory, or if you're working from the office. I'd love to know it. But I think in general, especially for people working from home, it can be difficult to have boundaries and structure to your days as well. So things get in, like you're working and then somebody rings the door, and then you're thinking, oh, I wasn't productive enough today, and then you're working until very late, until 11 hours. That happens quite a lot, and then it's difficult sometimes. Yeah, I see a mix there of people working from home, from the office. And one thing that I feel like a lot of us PhD students feel is like guilty about taking time off. And it's or even like outside hours, working hours, or holidays, it could be. And then with the pandemic now, like, for me especially, I feel very disconnected from people doing research, and that can be challenging sometimes. It's so nice when I get to talk to someone who's doing research as well, and then we all get to connect and learn about each other's experience. So definitely something that I miss about before the pandemic. A bit of self-discipline and procrastination. These are things that have become even more mainstream now during the pandemic, right? So I want to bring this reflection to you guys. If you were a model, what is your primary tool for work? What do you use? What's necessary for you to work? How do you need to show up? Yeah, Alessandro? I think you're used to, yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
So the model, you mean model like a girl? So
yeah, or a guy.
Yes, okay, sorry. My bias, I would think of makeup, I suppose, or dress.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Another thing, maybe you might consider, you need to have your hair done, you need to dress properly, eat well, look after your body, you need to look after, so your primary tool for work is your figure, your body, your person, right? And how would you prepare yourself to give your best at work? You're probably going to the nail salon, you're getting your hair done, you're getting your nails done, you're getting, I don't know, working out and doing all those things. So all those things are very important to support you in your own career, right? So now, what if we're talking about a student? What is your primary tool for work? What do you need to do work?
I keep answering. I suppose
Yeah.
the knowledge. Without knowledge, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Just from the starting point.
Mm-hmm. So I would say in terms of our body, we need our brain, our knowledge, our understanding, that mental space where we are good, we're thinking, we know what we're doing, we understand things and so on. And so now, so if you're, in the case of the model, like the person needs to be looking after their body, needs to be looking after their hair, whatever it is. And for a student, if you're working with your brain, how do you look after your brain? You know? Do you get me what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense to you guys? So, like, I guess it's just like to bring light to the importance of a few things that sometimes we don't appreciate enough, or we don't give enough importance. And this like leads to a bit of productivity tips there. One thing, I love this book by James Clear. It's called Atomic Habits. So he has a few problems with like setting goals and stuff. And one of the things he says is that winners and losers, they have the same goals. So if successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates them. It must be something else. And then with achieving goals, so if you're thinking your goal is to get your degree, that's going to be a momentary change. So like it's only the day you're there graduating or the day you defend your viva. So you all the other days you're going to be just like thinking about that day. You're going to be happy that day. So like how, like, you know, like it's more about like learning to like the process. So you're happy every day. Every day you're making progress towards your goal, but you're enjoying it, you know? So one thing that he says is that like in terms of like the winners and losers there is that you do not rise to the levels of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So your goal is your desired outcome, but your system is the collection of habits that will get you there. So basically here my understanding of this in our own case is that our goal might be to graduate whatever, but there is a collection of daily habits we need to do to get us there. And that's basically what we need to learn to enjoy, right? So basically the success is the byproduct of these daily habits. It's not a once in a lifetime transformation. It's not the day you're there graduating. It's about the journey. So if excellence is what we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence is then not an act, but a habit. So how do we create these habits? It's all about the way we live our days. And here is the important thing about habits, you know. So having the right habits, making sure that you're resting your brain, you're priming yourself for giving your best in work is the best way of doing it, is the way I kind of look at it. So the way I kind of try to implement these tips into my life, and I hope you guys take some practical tips from it as well, is like having some sort of night routine, getting my good sleep and a good morning routine where when I'm showing up for work, I'm excited. I want to get stuff done, and I will. And the first thing is like clarifying what's important and what's not important. And this can be so difficult because sometimes we want to do it all, but it is so essential that we see through things, what's essential, what's not, and prioritizing things, doing what's most important first. And one thing, especially now with the pandemic, priming our environment, like distractions, they are everywhere. It can be so difficult to focus. So definitely like working on our environment is the easiest way to get more self-disciplined. And like it's not like I have it all figured out. Like I wrote it here. I should probably write in a wall in my in my bedroom to remind myself every day. But these are things that, like, keeping in mind and trying to be as consistent as we can is the best way for us to stay productive and make the best of our time. Okay, so with those reflections, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going over so much time here. I just have a special invitation for you. If any of this that these things that I said, that I mentioned to you makes sense. So basically, with the pandemic, it can be a lot harder for us to focus, especially if we were working from home, which I see is the case for most of you guys there. And there is, as Emilienne mentioned there, networking definitely makes it richer, but I feel like these opportunities are not so available as before. So with this, I basically set up this Discord server where I'm working with others virtually. So the main goal of it is to increase our productivity, so we can increase focus, stay motivated, and enhance our own experiences while working together, and really expand our network as well. We get to work together, get inspired from each other, and connect with people who are also working on their postgrad, on their masters or PhDs. So basically, like, so far we've been doing a few co-working sessions, accountability sessions, and I've included a few different features there. Not sure. Let me know, guys, if you know what Discord is, or if you've ever seen it before, or if you use it. Let me know in the chat there. But basically, like, there is like different things that you can do in the server, where you have two different productivity tools. So you have your to-do list, leaderboards, where you can see how you're tracking your progress and so on. So I started using this recently with a few friends, and if any of you would like to work together and to get more productive, networking, I'd love to have you on the Discord server. I'll send you a Google form link there, so I can have your email address, and then I can send you the link, and then we can connect there. Also, if you want to, just kind of wrapping up before we move on to questions, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, it would be great to have you guys there as well. I think connection is something so important during the PhD, and this is really what I'm trying to build now in a more virtual way on Discord. So if you guys are interested, I'll give you the link there. It would be lovely to connect. And yeah, so thank you very much for your time. One last reflection before I move on. You know, I love reflections. So this quote, I actually received this from my supervisor, Brendan. Which is more important, asked the big panda, the journey or the destination? And then, or the journey or the destination, then the company said the tiny dragon. I think we can all kind of relate to this, thinking back maybe to our undergrad and thinking about our good friends we made and the good memories we have together with them. So yeah, this is basically what I hope to achieve with the Discord channel and with you guys as well. So yeah, stay connected with me. I love people. I love seeing people, working with people. So yeah, okay. Thanks very much for spending this time with me, guys. I really appreciate you being here, and I look forward to your questions.